Right, well, hello everybody and welcome to Barclays Eagle Labs, ready here for Brighton Data Forum. I'm Andy, I work here at Eagle Labs, so we are a business incubator. We want to help businesses grow and scale. So if that's something that you're interested in and you want to know more, grab me, I will be here till the end of the evening and we can talk around what we can do. I'm here just to let you know about the health and safety bit. I know it's boring, but we have to go through it. If you need the toilet, through the door, down the stairs, and to the side. Also, if there's a fire drill, no fire drill planned now, but if the alarm does go off, just head over to the Joker pub, and we can meet there and reconvene and make sure everyone is okay. So that's it from me this evening. If you want to know more about Eagle Labs, come and grab me, because I'm really happy and I can talk for hours about what we can do to help and support you. So I'm going to hand you over to Mehmet now and enjoy tonight.
Thanks, Andy. And hello, welcome everyone. So welcome to Brighton Data Forum. So just a short intro. We are a bunch of data enthusiasts who love to get together for a bit of socializing, networking, and also skill sharing, all things about the data or analytics. So my name is Mehmet, by the way. I am one of the co-organizers of this forum. So I will be your presenter tonight. So it is absolutely great to see many of you, plenty of the new faces, and of course, we have also some loyal regulars as well here. So we are a community of the data professionals in the broader sense of the word, I guess. So we are a bunch of from the executive suite and leadership to interns, we cover all the different aspects of the data work, and we especially appreciate the attendance and proactive participation from the students and academics and professionals as well. So there is an announcement I need to make about the forum. So we got and done our membership milestone. So we have passed the 1,500, or should I call it 1,500 members in the data forum at the moment. But I guess that's not the number. I think it is a living proof of the Brighton's finest data minds are here showing up and sharing ideas, discussing, exchanging, and also building something genuinely, sincerely brilliant together. So I just want to make a quick check-in. As you can see in here, we have somebody called Brett Rumble. I just want to check, is that person with us tonight? I don't think so. Oh, I think, we have some kind of perks to hand over to that person. But since he is not around, I think we can hand out those gifts of the perks to one of our loyal participants. And last time I checked with Oscar, who is the most active participants in our forum, I anticipate, the one name is coming at the top place, which is called Andrew. So I want to hand out this gift back to the Andrew, since he's our most active and loyal participant. So if you don't, it's your lucky day, Andrew. So it's better to be coming along in the events, so you can have some perks afterwards. And thanks for the Tilo, by the way, providing those gifts. So they are our gift sponsor for tonight. And right, so the forum's spiritual home is the meetup.com, but that's where we schedule our regular events last Wednesday of each odd month. But we don't need to stick to rigid schedules, so we also throw some spontaneous event as we might do it. So I'm sure there will be something happening the next month, so stay tuned to get the updates about the next event. And for those who can't get enough of us, so we get the Slack workspace where we keep the chatter going between the events. So if you fancy keeping in touch with the data gang and staying in the loop about what we are cooking up, hop on our Slack group and give us a shout. Sorry. Okay, let me keep it for a moment. So, all right, folks. So I think it is time to give a big shout out to our amazing sponsor, Brighton Analytics. Hey. Yeah, their support is absolutely fantastic. So we couldn't be more grateful because they agreed to provide, sponsor our events for the next year. So that's really, we are really appreciating their support. And you might be wondering also, why are they treating all the participants, all the folks, all these lovely refreshments and drinks? Let me tell you, so Brighton Analytics is right at the forefront of using the latest tool for analytics and analytical engineering. And I guess, they are all about fostering the vibrant data community, and they believe in the power of the collaboration and sharing knowledge. And what better way to do than order over some tasty treats and drinks? And one of them are here at the moment. I'm not sure. He's the Mark Ritman, the founder of the Brighton Analytics. So do you want to give a short pitch about your platform?
I think it's a slide, wasn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, just to kind of, that's 15 slides, hope that's okay. So they're actually the old slides, but yeah, I'm just really pleased to be here, really pleased to be supporting the event. Ever since I've been working in IT, we've always been participating in sort of meetups and user groups and writing blogs and all that sort of thing. So really glad to be doing this, really nice turnout, and nice also, I'm from Brighton, I live up in sort of Hove and that sort of thing, so it's nice to support something that's local as well. So thank you very much, everybody here, and glad to be sponsoring it. Okay. Yeah. Oh, right. Is that me? That's not me, is it? No, that's not me. There you go. Right, there you go. Cheers.
Thanks, Mark. And actually, I have a fun fact about the Brighton Analytics. I am not sure that's correct, and it is actually related with our topic. So I understand Brighton Analytics has been partnering with the Google Cloud for nearly a decade. I found that on the Gemini output of the Google, so I'm not sure whether it is correct or not, but yeah, it is great. Yeah, it's great. So yeah, it is also right on the spot of today's topic. And also,
That's an interesting point, actually, that kind of, in the old days, you'd be trying to make sure that your company came up in search results, Google search and that sort of thing. But now it's about trying to make sure that your company's mentioned in things like sort of Claude and OpenAI and that sort of thing. And looking at our website logs, we can see now traffic coming in from those LLMs, and actually it's going to be quite significant, really. But what's also interesting is that there's a kind of implicit endorsement there as well. So it's like advertising, but it's advertising that's almost editorial. So, you would see us on there, and it's actually deliberate in some respects.
thanks, Mark. One more. And it's not over. So here's a cherry on the top of the cake. So their latest blog is about integrating the LangChain with the Google's Looker, which is also related with our today's topic. And it is, right on the spot and really impressive, and also cracking read for anyone who is interested with the AI tools and data. So don't miss out this GitHub repost and blogs as well. Yeah. All right, folks. So we also got something special lined up for next. So before we dive in, let's take a moment to give a huge shout out for the Silicon Brighton, which is the another supporter of today's great forum. So let's give a warm welcome to Cameron from the Silicon Brighton and our great rock star as well. Cameron, you're on the stage. Come here.
Thank you very much, Mehmet. If you were part of our Slack conversation, you'll see that me and Mehmet are having a bit of a compliment off currently. So thank you for that, a lovely intro. But yes, my name's Cameron, and I work for Silicon Brighton in their community events program. We're the hosts of Brighton Host Tech Sector. Much like the Data Forum, we look after loads of other different meetups as well. So spanning across loads of different topics. Eagle Labs are also brilliant, hosting, I think, 5 or 6 of our meetups, and looking for a few more next year as well. So yeah, speaking of those meetups we support is loads of different ones. One that's Eagle Labs quite a lot is Brighton R and Brighton Pi, and the amount of times that it will be data-led talks in those programming languages, so it's definitely worth checking some of those out as well. We are supporters ourselves of the meetup groups, but we ourselves have supporters, which are local businesses to Brighton and Hove that support us each month. We're just massively gracious for all that they do for us. They'll help out either with spaces or financially to let us live stream and just make sure that everyone can be included in these wonderful conversations. Speaking of the sponsorship as well, we have I think it's 4 main sponsors, could be 5, but the slides will prove me wrong. But one of those is James Chase, a brilliant company that support everything that we do, along with Plus Accounting, More Law, and most recently Alirity, so that's 4. One of the community events that we're taking part in, which is incredibly important, is Brighton Pride. We have our own space in the parade. Unfortunately, I'm not driving my van, but Grace will be driven along in a car of some sort, and I've been promised that there are bubble machines. So if you not only want to observe the parade, but want to be part of the parade, I know, quite a big ask, I'm sure, for a few. But yeah, scan that QR code to take you to a Google form, and you can march with us in what is one of the most important days of the year. So that's great. Thank you for sorting that out, Grace. Also, speaking of Brighton R and Brighton Pi, they run their own conference, EARL, which is enterprising applications of the R language, and in brackets Python as well. That's also another brilliant conference day, full of data analytics as well as R and Python scripts to smash out your big datas. So yeah, if you want to buy a ticket for that, that is available there. And I know that Jeremy and the team on LinkedIn have just put out their rubber duck. Is that right? There, they've put out their rubber duck scheme this year. So there are rubber ducks all around the city, and I believe there's either prizes or tickets if you find them, all in usual spaces. So check out that and more on LinkedIn, the Data Cove Ducks. But yeah, final one from me is the link tree to everything that Silicon Brighton does. It's got our website, our links to meetup.com, as well as our Slack channel, where, as Mehmet said, the conversation doesn't stop at the meetups, it carries on at home, and we've got loads of different meetups spanning loads of different topics, as well as events channels, employers channels, and also help. So if you're looking for your next business partnership, there's no better place than there. But that's me done, so thank you very much for the time.
Lovely. Thanks, Cameron, and thanks Silicon Brighton and Rhythm Analytics once again. All right, so there we go. So this is where we are here to listen some amazing talks on the Google Cloud. So our first talk will be about how the Google Cloud is teaming up with the Datatonic. So we have a Jeremiah, which is the head of Datatonic of the UK and I sales team, and he is working there for nearly a decade, as far as I remember. So in this talk, Sam will reveal the secrets behind the Google's nearly 30% growth over the last 6 quarters, making it fastest growing cloud vendor in the world. So I think I will keep it short. So let's give a big warm welcome to Sam, our first speaker.
Thank you, mate. I think I'm going to go on the... Okay. Well, thank you very much to the Brighton Data Forum for having me today. And yeah, it's really exciting to be here for the Google Cloud themed session today. I just wanted to go through a couple of disclaimers. I've actually got 3 disclaimers that I wanted to talk about. The first one is any views or opinions I share are definitely mine and not Google Cloud's. Don't want to get in trouble. Secondly, I'm an absolutely awful curator of slides, so if any of the slides make your eyes hurt, I apologise profusely. And then thirdly, I'm also, as I've found out, an awful curator of prompts as well. So you'll see all of these things in my presentation tonight, but a couple of disclaimers for you there. Okay. So here's a little video I made, especially for tonight. Didn't have a very big budget. I'll play it for you again. But here we go. So yeah, the video I made, Brighton Data Forum, yeah, Google Cloud, just getting us all in the mood for talking Google Cloud by the seaside. You can have a look at the prompt that I used for that, create a short video for the Brighton Data Forum. I'd like to include a summer theme and reference subjects around Google Cloud by the seaside. It would be great to have some seagulls in there too. So have a look at it again. Here we go. It's pretty good, but I've never seen a beach like that in Brighton before, and I'm not sure what Holclaum is in terms of Google. I blame the prompter rather than VO3, which is obviously something that we'll talk about a little bit later, one of the latest and greatest things to come out of DeepMind. This is actually my second time talking at the Brighton Data Forum. I spoke previously in 2019. There's a few people who were in the room on that occasion, so 6 years ago. And I'm really fond of this talk because it's a great chance to think back to where you were and what you believed was almost like the cutting edge of technology at the time. And then look at where we are now and how things have massively changed. And you know, at the time, the talk was about Oracle Analytics. I think it was called Oracle Analytics Not Quite Dead Yet. And it was about how Oracle were sort of really bouncing back with their analytics play, moving into the cloud. They were doing some really innovative things like mashups. You could upload your own Excel spreadsheet to your analytics dashboards and mash it up with your enterprise subject areas and so on. You know, really kind of groundbreaking stuff. And I think, yeah, those are the two things I'm quite fond of. One, because it gives us a good point to look back and think how things have actually changed quite significantly in that time. But two, it was, you know, a really captivating subject while we were in the room, and you know, these events are recorded, and what I saw the other day was it's a really captivating subject online as well. 25 views, I would say, yeah, there's probably a good 15 of them were friends and family. So yeah, let's try and aim for a few more than 25 in the next 5 years. This led me to actually my second prompt. This one's not using VO. This is actually done within Google Workspace, Google Slides. And yeah, I was feeling sad when I saw that only 25 people wanted to see that video. So I thought, why don't we generate an image of a sad and lonely 40-year-old standing on a stage, looking out at an empty crowd, holding a microphone and tears in his eyes. But it must be in Brighton, and ideally with seagulls included. And this is what I came up with. And I think that was a little bit more accurate than the video. The only thing I could pick up was it clearly missed my instruction about standing out looking at a stage, unless I'm kind of in the middle looking at another one. But you know, the accuracy is a little bit better. I think he looks about 40. They're definitely seagulls. So yeah, it had quite a good time with the generating the image in Google Workspace. So I'll tell you a bit about me, and I'll tell you a little bit about my company, Datatonic. So Sam Jeremiah, I lead the UK sales team at Datatonic. I've been with the company for 4 years, and I've been working within the data and AI sector for 15 years with 3 or 4 different services company. When I entered that area, it was around the emergence of big data, really. Companies like, or the Hadoop projects were going into the enterprises, and companies like Cloudera were making sort of a sweet profit off of the back of it. And obviously, yeah, fast forward 15 years, and I've been through kind of waves of change quite significantly in those 15 years. Probably, if I look back now, none more so than what we're experiencing at the moment. And working within the Google Cloud ecosystem, you really do kind of get to see it. And my talk tonight was about how this is kind of fascinating, very dynamic, but also sometimes you catch yourself feeling that this is a little bit scary as well. And I'll go into a bit more detail about what I mean by that. Datatonic, we're one of the leading data and AI partners for Google Cloud. So we're two things. We're Google Cloud only. We don't work with other cloud vendors. And we're also data and AI only as well. So we started the company about 9 years ago. The story goes that our founder, Louis, worked on one of the very early BigQuery implementations. Made a bit of a bet on Google Cloud that it was going to become a thing. At that time, the Google Cloud partner ecosystem was like 4 or 5 people. And they were really looking for partners to help scale their business. That's their strategy, to scale through partners. And yeah, Louis and Google met, and the rest is history. As a company, we've worked on some of the early projects for customers who've now gone on to spend or have like, $1 billion investments in Google Cloud going forward. So we've really been able to kind of go on that journey with them and see how it's really matured as a cloud and how it's really catching up with its competitors. So yeah, we've won 10 Google Cloud Partner of the Year awards. These are usually around kind of the data and AI domain. Datatonic works in 5 different regions. The UK is our biggest, but we operate in North America as well. EMEA, based in Sweden and Switzerland, and we've had a recent acquisition in Croatia as well. Worked on tons and tons of different data AI projects, from large enterprises to people who've got weird and wacky ideas in AI startups, and they come to a service partner like us to help them. So the next part of my talk is really going to be focusing on 2 parts. One, what's driving Google Cloud's growth, according to me. And secondly, what's it like to actually experience that as a service partner who's servicing customers? We're servicing end customers, we're not servicing Google Cloud. Q2 earnings call for Alphabet was last week. Google Cloud announced their biggest quarter to date, 13.6 billion for Q2 2025. What that represents is, I think their 6th or 7th in a row growth of around 32%. So in terms of like pure growth rate, they are the leading cloud. And I think another really important metric to reference is they've got a big backlog of work that has almost been sold but not delivered yet. So north of, this is not something that Google publishes, but it's understood that it's north of $100 billion of work that's been sold but not been delivered yet. So we're really seeing customers investing in Google Cloud for the future as well, over kind of long-term transformations. And 3 months isn't a long time, but this is just some of the things that have happened in the last 3 months. OpenAI and Google have announced a partnership where ChatGPT will be running on Google Cloud soon. $1 billion deals with ServiceNow. I don't know if anyone was at the UK Summit, the Google Cloud UK Summit, but we had Peter Kyle, who I think used to knock around these sort of areas, announcing a new partnership between Google Cloud and the UK government to digitalise the HMRC. Vodafone have done a massive cross-product deal with Google, including Google Cloud, sort of, over $1 billion over a 10-year period. And obviously, Google's, got its money out and acquired Wiz for something like $30 billion or something like that. So that's a pretty exhilarating 3-month period, isn't it? And I think, I believe this is, mainly down to a few things. Oh no, that's OBIE 11G. Sorry, I must have left that one in from a couple of years ago or something like that. But you look familiar, Mark? Yeah. this is what I think it's down to. I think really, if you think about Alphabet and Google and all of these brands and these banners, they're really well positioned to create these, I guess, these reasoning solutions based on the products that they've been running for many years. So Google search, I think Google search is something like 13.5 billion Google searches done per day is what they're estimating. If you think like the global population's 8 billion, that's quite a staggering amount of Google searches that's happening every single day. Understanding what people are looking for, how they're interacting with information, and how they're able to kind of take that information forward. Google Ads as well. The Google Ads side of the business has been very mature for a long time and continues to grow. That means that as consumers, Google's able to understand how we're purchasing and how we're actually interacting with consumers or for shops and online sort of e-commerce as well. So I think all of this leads, if you take all of this and you lead it down to the Google Cloud offering, they're very, very well placed to be able to create products that are actually very kind of tailored towards the consumers and the people who are looking to interact with these systems.
Sam, go back to that previous slide you had of OBI. What's the link between that and Google Cloud?
It's not. I just put it in there as a joke, Mark.
There is one though, isn't there?
Yeah, you're going to have to tell me.
Thomas Kurian.
Oh yes, Thomas Kurian. Mark's right. So yeah, Thomas Kurian was. What did he do at Oracle?
So the link between the two is that Thomas Kurian, who was in charge of all the product side cloud at Oracle, and that product there, which is Oracle BI, he's now boss of Google Cloud, isn't he? So
Yeah.
you can see a lot of the strategy that Google Cloud are doing, from the product side, with buying Looker and so on, but also just in terms of being much, much more commercially on the ball, is really kind of Thomas Kurian, really.
Yeah.
So there is actually a link between those two things.
Yeah, Thomas Kurian's a really great operator, and certainly for service partners like ourselves, Mark's company, Borkur, who's joining us from Pythian today, their strategy is without doubt to scale through partners. That's how they're looking to do it. They don't want to have the biggest direct workforce in terms of sales force in the world. They want to scale through partners. So it's he really invests, and obviously his management team all the way down invests in kind of strong partnerships with service providers like us. But then obviously Google are well placed, but they need to be able to execute as well. And I think over the years, they've really been able to mature their service offering and the components within their analytics platforms. What you can kind of see here is just sort of a general reference architecture, I suppose. But what it shows is that they're able to cater for various different ingestion patterns. You can run Kafka on Google Cloud as a managed service, or you can run PubSub, which is a Google Cloud component. BigQuery, a lot of their products have been built around the power of BigQuery, clearly, which is a very mature product in itself. But they've even got offerings for ELT that maybe don't rival DBT, but certainly it's a managed option that Google offer, which is Dataform. And then obviously on the activation side as well, Mark mentioned the Looker acquisition, and Looker is something that is prevalent within a lot of enterprises. The product team are working very hard at the moment to make it more of a conversational experience for people, rather than the drag and drop experience that we're probably all used to with our dashboards. And yeah, that's looking really, really good. One that I wanted to highlight especially is Google Cloud's Vertex AI platform, because I think this shows where Google's doing things very well in terms of their openness. The Vertex AI platform is effectively their MLOps platform. It's a platform to manage, productionize, monitor your machine learning models. Within the platform, there's features such as AutoML, which means kind of, sort of an idiot like me can actually go and build a data science model fairly easily. But they've also got this component called the model garden, and the model garden kind of stands for openness. And this is one of the things about Google, which I think they're doing well. They call themselves the open cloud. In the model garden, you don't just have access to Gemini, you have access to lots of different third-party models as well, Meta Llama, Anthropic models, and kind of, it's a way for you to almost find the right model for the right problem that you're looking for, really. So I think, a lot of things to look at here, but if I was maybe to suggest one takeaway, get sort of stuck into Vertex AI and learn a little bit about that, because that's where all of their AI developments are going. I guess, so we've spoken about the fact that under all of the alphabet banners, you've got kind of search and ads and Google Earth Engine, and then we've looked at their analytics offering and the components, which we have said are mature. There's also another thing that I think is really driving Google's growth, which is, and I don't think anyone should underestimate how useful it is for them to have DeepMind. DeepMind was an acquisition for Google as well, but DeepMind is it's a number of research and development analysts, like really clever mathematicians, working on solving problems that they believe can be solved through machine learning and AI. And a lot of the stuff that we see eventually go into Google Cloud's product offering, it comes out of DeepMind. So if we look at the models, you'll be familiar with, obviously, Gemini, their latest models, 2.5 Pro and 2.5 Flash. But if you look over on the left-hand side here, you've got their multimodal models. Their multimodal models is your text to video, a bit like I poorly showed you earlier with my beach video. Your text to music video, you can create music videos. Your text to image video with Imagen. Imagen 4 is their latest and most sophisticated model for text to image. But the multimodal doesn't really stop there. You're able to actually take image to video as well. And we're actually seeing a lot of customers, particularly in the creative industry and the agency industry, really kind of thinking, how do we almost create our own playground to be able to do this? Because this could significantly change the way that customers brand their products, etc. And this is a slightly better video. This was released about 3 months ago. One of the models that I showed before, the text to video model called VO3. DeepMind released this before VO3 became in private preview, and I think it's now GA. But yeah, this video was released based off just a very simple prompt, which I'm trying to start.
This ocean, it's a force, a wild, untamed might. And she commands your awe with every breaking light.
So yeah, they've released this, and they've subsequently released a lot of amazing things that you'll have seen coming out of VO. But just a very simple prompt there has created a very short 8-second video. But I've seen some videos where there's one that's an IKEA advert, I believe, where the prompting's been taken a little bit longer, etc. And there's some of the things that it's created is quite outstanding, actually. So.
Just wanted to say, in the room, that was like a bit of a delay, so the sync was actually really good. The lip sync was good, but there was a delay to the stream.
So we've spoken about VO3, we've spoken about the stuff that comes out of DeepMind, the analytics platform. Along the way, we obviously see a lot of specific products for specific problems coming as well. This is Google Cloud's Agentspace, and this is what Borkur's going to be talking to us about today, showing us a live demo as well. This is something that has really kind of become quite significant within customers who are currently within the Google Cloud ecosystem, but also looking to enter the Google Cloud ecosystem. You can kind of think of it as Google search for your enterprise data, but I won't talk about it anymore because I don't want to steal my man's thunder. But but they're also appealing significantly to the developer community as well. So Mark mentioned LangChain. One of the announcements at Next in Vegas in April was the release of their AI agent builders for developers, and significant of this is within their agent development kit. This basically gives companies the ability to build their own custom agents, and if you think you'll be able to use pre-built agents through Agentspace. You can build your custom agents in ADK, but then you can actually deploy them and manage them in Agentspace as well. So Google's very much going for this kind of agentic way of running companies effectively, but with a centralized management part to it. So that's amazing. There's a lot of things in there. There's a lot to keep up with. And I suppose one of the things I'd say first and foremost is I do tip my hat in many ways to the sales team at Google Cloud, because as we mentioned, Google Cloud wants to scale through partners, but it does have a fairly large sales force. And there is a lot of stuff happening there. And it's not just on the data and AI side. They have security plays, they have infrastructure plays, they have Workspace, Google Cloud Workspace, which is a challenger to Office 365 as well. And there's no real kind of specialization. There's a little bit, but not broadly specialization between these things within Google Cloud. So there's I suppose one of the challenges that you can find as a Google Cloud partner is really trying to sort of second guess what's going to be the focus of Google Cloud at any one time. And it can lead you to feel a bit like this really. When you're independent of Google, as we are, and as Mark is, and as Pythian are, you've still got to have your own strategy. But if you're Google Cloud only, you know that actually your strategy can be somewhat defined by where they're looking to put their time and effort as well. So yeah, it can kind of lead you to thinking at a certain time, okay, right, do we just focus on our own thing, or do we just literally go with the flow of what Google are doing? And that, it's a challenge that not only we have, but also I've spoken to a lot of the Google Cloud partners, and we're always kind of looking at what's maybe just a fad, and do we chase after it, or what actually, where actually are we going to kind of, place our bets really. So when I was talking to Oscar about what I wanted to speak about, these were the three words that came into my head really. Fascinating, because you really are kind of seeing some crazy things happening. I'll tell you about one project that we worked on for, it was actually for Google Cloud Arts and Culture. They're a part of Google that tries to kind of maintain historic things. They've done some work with the Maritime War Museum and many other places. We actually worked on a project trying to restore the remaining 5% of the Dead Sea Scroll manuscripts using computer vision API and data and AI basically. And it's just like a bonkers thing that you get involved in. It's really fascinating to see what ideas customers have. It's really fascinating to see what's coming down from Google's product offering. It's kind of a privilege really to work in that space, because it's not going to stop, and that if there is going to be a trend, then there's a very good chance that Google's going to have a good solution for it. Dynamic I've kind of touched on already. It is changing a hell of a lot. If I think back to in the last 18 months, 2 years, generative AI, no one really planned for it at our company. It kind of, ChatGPT came out, Google went, oh, that's an issue. We better release Bard. And then, there was a sales force there that was conditioned to, take chunks out of the generative AI race. So the partners in some way need to follow. So you do have to be prepared to be dynamic, but I think the partners and the developer community and the customers, frankly, as well, that embrace the fact that it is dynamic, End up doing really well and actually have a really good fun time along the way. I'll tell you another story about Vegas in April. So, well, I will. So in April, no, it's not going to be one of those stories. I'll tell you that afterwards. In April, the partners and the customers were all kind of invited to an event at the Sphere. I don't know if anyone's been to the Sphere in Vegas, but it's this massive, great big globe, the biggest screen, you know, a sphere shape. So obviously it can be quite difficult projecting things onto that. And the whole thing was under embargo. No one knew what we were going there for. We turned up and out walks Sundar, the CEO of Alphabet, and Thomas Kurian, the CEO of Google Cloud. And then they just told this story about this thing that they'd been working on, which was basically a remastered and remade version of The Wizard of Oz. And that's going to have residency at the Sphere from August this year. So yeah, as soon as next month. But they've used AI, so they've collaborated with DeepMind, with Google Cloud, with the production companies, etc. And they've used AI to effectively remake the rest of The Wizard of Oz, because The Wizard of Oz was shot on a tiny little camera, which only has a certain size. The Sphere has the biggest screen in the world. So they need to fill up the rest of that space, and they've used AI to predict what characters who maybe weren't in that scene or weren't shot in that scene might have been doing at that time. And it's an immersive experience. It's all kind of, yeah, it was a crazy, mind-blowing thing to see. And I would thoroughly recommend having a look at the YouTube video. It goes through the whole making of it. It's about half an hour long. But yeah, it does blow your mind. But then scary was the final thing. And I think scary, not in a bad way, because I've just kind of contradicted myself and you have to embrace it. But you do get a bit of a view as to what's kind of coming in terms of data and AI and disruption. And it is going to be very disruptive. It's going to be very disruptive to companies. It's going to be very disruptive to us as workers. I think every single person, whether you're interested in tech or not, I think you're going to have to probably try and push yourselves to embrace AI and use things like Copilot or Agentspace, because I think that will actually become the expectation of our employers. And we've already seen some companies almost like enforcing it as well. So it's scary to a degree, but I guess my advice to anyone is just like embrace it and know that it is going to be a thing, and it doesn't have to be bad. It's just going to be, it will be how we all work going into the future. So I'll stop there really. I think, summary-wise, Google Cloud is a mature offering, and their sales and their growth is showing that customers also agree. There's huge investments in Google Cloud, not just for the now, but for the future as well. Backlogs booked for over the next 5-10 years. Big product advancements have come out. The multimodal side of it, personally, I think is very fascinating. And then if you're working in that space, either as an engineer or a business owner like Mark, or someone who works for a Google Cloud partner like me, you'll experience these three things. But I'd say if you can embrace all three of them, then it's a very, very fun place to be. So yeah, that's the end of my talk, and very happy to take some questions.
Thanks, Sam. Yeah, it was amazing talk on the use of the Google AI tools in the context of the Datatonic. And before going ahead, I want a quick check. Is there any comment or question from the online?
There's one from Remy and our the cats, if that means anything.
They're my cats.
They're your cats.
Yeah. I knew they'd be watching.
Yeah, you're being watched.
Yeah.
Oh, great.
They are
Yeah.
So there is no keyboard strikes randomly?
No.
Oh, okay.
It's very, I can read.
Oh, okay, great then.
Yeah. It's all bad.
So if there's nothing from the online, so we can go ahead with the room. So who comes first? Any questions on the AI, Google Cloud?
If nobody else is asking,
Okay.
Sam, you used to work in the Oracle world. Now you
Yes.
work in the Google world
Yeah.
as a partner. How do the two compare? As in being a partner and working in the partner ecosystem and the commercials.
Yeah, so I guess the biggest thing I noticed, and Oracle's obviously a kind of a wonderful company and hugely successful, and I think they're doing very well at the moment. The one thing I noticed quite significantly when I left the Oracle world and when I joined the Google world was when I walked into a meeting with a customer, they like had a smile on their face. And that was like quite a wow moment. And you know, sometimes when you walked into a meeting to talk about a piece of work based on Oracle or an upgrade or something like that, it was quite tetchy because maybe bad experience or it's been around for a while, it's not really servicing its purpose. Whereas I think if you walk into a meeting to talk about Google, people are thinking about possibilities, and that path to value doesn't seem to be as far for customers. And there's a way that ourselves as partners and Google themselves can actually say, well, like you want to do a big thing and that's probably quite innovative and sometimes pioneering, but actually it's not that far to get there, at least to try it, to test out the feasibility. A lot of Google Cloud's services are managed services. Google Cloud runs and supports all of those services. So that journey to value can actually be a lot shorter, and I think that just makes people feel quite happy and quite expansive in their thinking. They're a great vendor to partner with. They invest in their partners. They keep their partners accountable. They have to scale through partners. So if partners in any, and this is not just service partners, ISVs, anyone else goes to Google with a proposition on how that's going to help scale their own business, but then Google Clouds as well, they're going to listen. They're definitely going to listen. So I think my biggest experience, Mark, is just people seem just quite a bit happier.
Is that because of the licensing model, the way that with Oracle you basically clean them out in one go, whereas now it's consumption based, and also because maybe people who choose software like Google, it's the users that choose it, whereas with Oracle it was their bosses that chose it as part of a big, maybe kind of like golf course deal. Yeah, and therefore had no choice. Okay. The users had no choice in in actually the software.
You could just repeat, but I would like to add to it not to get into any arguments about vendors or anything, but one thing to keep in mind when we do comparisons like that is that they're watching this right now because this is live on YouTube.
I doubt it.
No, obviously is that things like Google is cloud native, cloud only, only cloud, and if you are an IBM or an Oracle client and so on, you've been doing installations. Nobody has installed Google on their laptop, right?
No.
But you've installed all of these other things, so the pains that you would have to go through is dealing with support on installing the software and getting it working and patching and all of that. So just to have keep that in mind when you compare it.
Of course, it's not a like-for-like comparison. And maybe, Google, as you say, they're digital native, they're cloud native. So with that maybe comes a little bit, like I said, that path to value is just a little bit quicker, I believe.
I'll have a follow-up question on that. So as a data professional, I primarily work in-house in companies that have AWS. And I've been spotting, just looking around, seeing platforms like Dremio, like Databricks, like AWS's SageMaker Unified Studio, wherein the platform is getting end-to-end support, from the governance and data catalog, and all the way throughout the data science, through the data pipelines, through the data science and AI tools. I appreciate your talk focused a lot on the AI side and the most exciting thing happening right now. But what is Google's answer to the overall platform, the end-to-end platform, including the governance side, the pipelines,
The answer to it is that Google will usually have a component for any of those things. So they, Dataplex they use for kind of lineage, for example. Really, there's a way to build that end-to-end, that whole platform with the governance as well in place. But going back to my point about the openness, Google has a lot of integration and third-party partnerships with other people, other ISVs as well. So there might be specific data catalog solutions that will be part of your architecture that is not a kind of a native Google Cloud product, but you can actually procure that through Google Cloud's marketplace, which is a great way for a customer to even, I suppose if they've got a big investment in Google Cloud, they don't want to have like multiple relationships with multiple third parties. Doing it through the marketplace will retain that. So there's usually a product in their offering that serves all of those purposes. Maybe maturity compared with a third party who's specifically kind of built their business based on that is not, there's no comparison. But then the other option is obviously the openness of those third party integrations. Yeah.
Do you kind of see, I kind of always feel that Google's missing out a bit, because as cloud platforms, you always think of AWS and you think of Azure. And I think the Azure and the Microsoft world, you know, mid-sized business upwards, your email, your day-to-day Word document, Excel document's going to be there. And your AWS stuff is your microservice-y, webby, spinny-uppy, computey thing. And Google kind of doesn't quite feel like it captures either of those markets. But in actual fact, Google's brilliant, because you've got your Google Docs, which you can actually share with external people, and it kind of all works properly, unlike in SharePoint. And you've got compute, and you've got all of the AI stuff. So it works there, and all your stuff's all in, you know, one common set of tooling there. But everybody kind of just thinks of Google a bit as, oh yeah, they own YouTube and they do a bit of search. And you kind of forget that they've got GCP and all the other feature set.
Possibly. I suppose what I'm seeing, and maybe I would because I work in it every day, is that's changing to a degree. I think, you know, we're seeing Gemini a bit more kind of out and about, aren't we? Like we see it on adverts, and we see it on buses, and actually we kind of have it on our phone and everything. We see it integrated with, like it'll be integrated with everything that Vodafone do, because that's all part of the deal, basically. Possibly, those are big projects. Certainly, selling Workspace to an existing Office 365 customer is a big project. Not that it wouldn't be a great outcome for most of those customers, because I wouldn't wish Teams or Outlook on my worst enemy. But you know, it's a big change, right? It'll be a big change for people. But people have been using Office and Outlook and everything for many, many years, and I think it will come back to where's the value in doing it. Where's the value in doing it? And I think people go for the value in the AI services with Google at the moment. And maybe that will help them open doors into other areas. They don't want to just sell BigQuery and Looker and Vertex AI. They want to kind of have it end to end with Workspace. But I think, you know, as an entry point into the greenfield, as they call it, you know, being a data and AI first company, I think is doing well for them at the moment. But I kind of agree to your sentiment somewhat. But I do think there's big things coming with Google Cloud. They seem to be doing more of those bigger strategic commitments, like the one we saw with the UK government and Vodafone. So, yeah.
Sam, you mentioned there about the UK government and so on. I mean, Google's a massive, big American company, right? And so is AWS and so on. In the conversations you've been having with like Vodafone and, you know, and the government and so on, is the fact that, you know, these things, with all the trade things going on and kind of, you know, tariffs and trade wars and so on, is the fact that Google is a big American company becoming an issue, really, for people?
Not from what I've seen. I think, well, you have to, I mean, what, Sundar, he was at the inauguration, wasn't he? I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it. And nor has a company come and said, we're not going to do it because we're just going to keep an eye on what old Trumpster's up to before we commit. So I haven't seen that personally, but I'm sure there's people within Google and customers who have it on a risk log somewhere, I'd assume.
Whatever they say, you know the US government's got a backdoor into all the data. And I'm not saying that is not my official line as a Google partner. But I wonder if there's going to be a move towards having more of a European sort of cloud vendor as well, because we haven't really got one, to be honest.
We don't. We don't, and that's probably a bigger issue in itself, really. But yeah, it's not something that I experience personally, nor is it a point of conversation we hear from customers.
Did you bring it up in the match later?
I'm not bringing it up. You bring it up.
Any questions so far, or anyone wants to have an interactive session with Sam, discussion about Google Cloud?
Yeah, I'll be hanging around, so yeah, we can chat in the break and yeah.
Great then. So let's give another warm applause for the Sam, an amazing talk.
Thank you very much.
So I think we have another speaker. Borkur is gonna give a speech about in the same topic. But you know what? I'm feeling a bit thirsty. So, and I think you're also on the same page with me. And we need to also make some technical arrangements in the stage. So let's have a 5 minutes break. So you can have refreshments and drinks. So 5 minutes break.
like that? Do you hear me? A little bit louder, like that? All right.
Hey everyone. I think it is time to take a seat for the. Yeah, we are gonna start our second talk very soon. So I will be very appreciating if you take a seat and also provide a venue for our next speaker. So I think our next speech is given by the Borkur on the Google Agentspace, which is the kind of related with the first topic. So without further ado, the Borkur stage is yours. So let's give a welcome to Borkur. Thank you.
Thanks, Mahmet. Right, so I had a conversation with Oscar, our friend here, a couple of months ago, planning a little bit ahead what the Brighton Data Forum would be covering this summer. And he kind of tricked me into this one. And then just a couple of weeks ago, I remembered that I had promised to do this, so I had to sort of get cracking on getting to know a little bit more about Google Agentspace. So my name is Borkur, apparently. I work for a company that used to be called Rittman Mead Consulting. Mark Rittman is in the room. And then a few months ago, we got acquired by a company called Pythian. So at the moment, we are a Pythian company. If you want to contact me, you can find me just borkur@pythian.com. The Pythian is a company that has been around for a long time and doing a lot of database management and shall we say, service customers around the world, both with sort of traditional DBA works, but also a lot into the sort of data experts. And there are some numbers there that kind of speak for themselves. 430 global customers, 45 different ecosystems, technologies, and so on. And we kind of provide services in the sort of data estate management for many different database vendors. And then also data analytics and obviously AI services, and then resale and support for Google Cloud Platform as well as Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, OCI, so the Oracle Cloud. It's a very diversified customer base. I'm not really going to go into this, but you can see that there's a lot of different clients across a lot of different industries. And then we are a strategic partner with Google Cloud for the past 11 years, and then Oracle, and been a Oracle partner for more than 27 years with a lot of. And then Pythian was elected as the Partner of the Year in Databases in 2025. So that's kind of a big boon for that. So the 45 different supported platforms is all over the place. You've got AWS, Azure, Oracle, SQL Server, and so on and so on. So I am here now to talk about Google Agentspace that Sam did touch on earlier. And I'm going to have a little bit of agenda. I'm going to go through this pretty fast. I don't want to be here all night, and neither do you. I think some of us are going to the pub afterwards anyway. So, so we're going to just basically define or tell you what Google Agentspace actually is, talk about the architecture, capabilities, and features, and then some use cases, and then a demo at the end. So live demo is always the best thing to do, especially against generative AI, where you hope it's going to answer the same as I practiced earlier. So we'll find out that as well. Yeah. So the problem is this, that even though we have spent a lot of time on building data warehouses to get our data in one place, you're still ending up with so many hundreds or if not thousands of different applications across different departments and enterprises. But only about 29% of those are integrated. These are not numbers that I make up. This is something that come from Zapier or from Salesforce when they do this kind of research and publish those. And they say sort of like 71% of the time that a salesperson spends is actually on non-selling tasks. It is about administration, entering data, finding data, and so on. So we're all used to Google being there to help us find information on the internet, and we're all absolutely used to it all the time. We don't even think twice about it. We can find all the information we want. But once you're inside your organization, well, you can't Google your Salesforce. You can't Google your sales leads and so on. So what the plan is to bring all of those together, and here are some more impressive numbers about how much time is being spent. 89% of employees use more than 6 sources or applications to find what they need. Half of employees feel that enterprise AI solution struggles to understand the context of what you're trying to do. And another 60-something% feel that they would want to use an end-to-end workflow rather than an AI chatbot and so on. So that's when Agentspace is coming into it. And now I did hear from Sam that Agentspace is going in general availability tomorrow. So up until now, it has been in preview and alpha and so on. And I've been lucky enough to have access to it before it going general available. And so at least we see what, and you can read there on the slide, what they're trying to do is basically giving you that Google search feel into your enterprise data using Gemini, and then using sort of Google quality-like ranking of your results. And then we will see how Gemini is then going to be using advanced reasoning and multimodal understanding to generate some content for us. So we'll use AI to search across text and images and videos that you have in your system, and then using AI to create sort of deeper understanding of the information that you're getting, and then also, of course, being able to act on it. So if this is a workflow end-to-end, we have to be able to act on it. So simple act is, okay, send an email with this thing, create a Jira ticket, and so on. But how it's actually achieving all of that is using connectors. So we get, at the time of this slide created not by myself, more than 100 plus enterprise connectors. So these are the bits that connect your Agentspace to whatever data source you have. So if you have Slack or you have Confluence, there's going to be a dedicated connector for that, and which then creates a connection and uses OAuth tokens to make sure that you are who you say you are, et cetera, and so on. And this then allows us to create a sort of a whole collection of data sources. And this, of course, then sits on top of the infrastructure that is the Google Cloud and using the compliance controls and security. So there are sort of 3 tiers within Agentspace. There is a notebook LM enterprise, which you could basically look at that as sort of like your personal research assistant that does deep dives into the things that you're working on. You can connect it to your Google Drive, upload your documents to it, and have it do sort of really deep diving into what you have. And then we have Agentspace and Agentspace Enterprise Plus. So the Agentspace basically brings this all together and creates sort of like an application for you, which could be company branded, sitting on top of all of your data, all of your Slack conversations, and all of your Git repositories and so on, and Confluence, and Salesforce, etc. And then Plus basically is another licensing tier that allows you to deploy your own custom agents into that as well. And I'll get to that in a second. So this basically creates this kind of one-stop interface experience for you, for your users. You will have your end users of different types. They will have all different kinds of roles, and then they will just have a unified UI that they connect to, which then sits on top of your agents and your functionals and being able to create actions and so on. But there's also then obviously a fully featured API to that as well. So you get an application which is like a chat agent, or there's an API that you can call to it, obviously. And then that sits on top of the building blocks, that is the foundational security set of Google with its connectors, and then being able to do your search and actions and so on. Just expanding on that, so you have hundreds of connectors and always more and more coming. You connect to these data stores, I'll get to that in a second, and then you can access your structured and unstructured private data, and then you can also choose to say, okay, I can also use public data, I can also use Google to go outside, and this is all a setting that you have. You might not want to be creating, for example, a sales agent that actually goes out on the internet and files some nonsense about your competitors and so on, and you build that into yours, so you'd have to be a bit careful about that. Just briefly on the access control. So you create an Agentspace connector. That connector will have access to your source, because what you do is you actually harvest that data into your data store so you can index it and so on. But then who am I? Well, I am a Slack user, and I can now only get results from Slack channels that I have access to. I think I'm not making that bit up. If you're on Slack, you can see all open channels, but the agent cannot see any private channels. Well, this is just to make sure that I only see what I'm supposed to see. And the same thing when you go into Confluence and Jira and GitHub, etc. So I'm always acting on that, but the Agentspace actually has harvested all the data to index it and embed it and so on. Just a brief one on the licensing. Just had to put it up there because people was always going to ask. So those three layers that I mentioned is the enterprise notebook LM, which is listed at $9 a month. And then there's 25 for the regular Agentspace, and then 45 for the Plus, where you can actually have your own agents added to it and so on. So just so we have the concepts or the building blocks in mind, so there's the notion of a data source. So the data source and the connectors links you to the actual data source that you want. So we can read data from that, and it harvests everything up on a schedule. So it's not instantaneous, obviously. It's like every 2 hours or every 24 hours or once, one-off if nothing changes. And you can get your Jira, Confluence, etc. But you can also ingest structured and unstructured data, typically from Google Drive. So you can just point it to some Google Drive folders and then say, okay, go and harvest that, or maybe all of them. So that's going to include also my documents that I haven't shared with anybody. But you cannot ask it, but I can ask it. Okay, if you have all your meeting minutes in there and all my daily diaries and so on, then the Agentspace is going to be able to use that as well, which is quite impressive. And then there are the data stores. That's basically like the database that the data is actually adjusted into. And you will kind of set those up once in your project or in your space. And then if I have different applications for different purposes and all of them want to use Slack, for example, I only have one Slack and then connect them to the other ones. So once you have those data sources in place, you create an app. So an application or an engine. So this is the user interface. Basically just out of the box kind of a chat like as you are used to with Gemini. And then I add to it the data stores that I want to have. And then we can have some assistance. Those are the conversational in-app search experiences. And then we can add actions to those. So send an email, create a ticket, create a meeting schedule, and so on. And then we can have multiple agents being able to do multiple things in there, such as, like Sam was showing us earlier, to be able to call other agents. But I think the interesting bit is going to be for your organization, if you have the in-house abilities, to start playing around with creating your own agents on top of your own special needs for your own special cases. So the sort of key features of Agentspace is basically that you have like this one single search bar, and then they can search across all your enterprise data sets and actually do a Gemini-like experience with it, where you can ask it to summarize this meeting and create a proposal and create this kind of document for me, and then ask for a meeting with your dentist. And we saw Sam had a similar thing showing up here, just so you get a feel for what it's like now, but I'm going to show you a demo later on, but I thought I'd have a little bit like that. So you're just interacting with it there, but it's your corporate data. Sam did mention this before as well. So there was the agent garden. So you have this set of pre-built agents that you can use. Deep research agents, idea generations, and basically your imagination is the limit there. And then you can have your own custom agents. And then the plan is to have a sort of a marketplace as well. So if you have come up with a really clever agent that works really well, you can put it in the marketplace and others could use it. Marketplace does suggest that you get paid for it, so I'm assuming it's that. Thirdly is about building custom agents. So there are different ways to do that. You can basically have like a no-code agent designer that helps you get started. There's a low-code using Vertex AI agent builder. Sam mentioned that as well. And then there is the actual using the ADK, the agent development kit. And then ideally you would use the agent-to-agent protocol to help your agent interacting with the other agents. So like all speaking Esperanto, are all communicating and understanding how that, and then the agent-to-agent protocol tells you, what's expected of you, what's the function calls and what is supposed to return, what is the format of the data being sent in parts and so on, but it's a bit out of scope for here. So here I am an admin, I have access to Agentspace. I want to go and create an app. I define it, give a name, give a company name, and in which region I want my data to be in. It defaults to globally, so that means that your data is going to be replicated globally, or you want it only in Europe or Africa or America and so on. Then to that app, I will add data sources or data stores, or create new ones. So I could say, point it to my website, ask it to harvest all the data from that website. So there's a new data source. So it's like, I have Slack already, I have Confluence already, add that to my app. So then once those are connected, you can actually then create, link this data set to a user-facing app, which again, you get out of the box. It's just a URL, which then uses whatever authentication mechanism you have. By default, of course, it's going to be your Google one, but it could be Azure or anything else. And if my user has privileges to use the app, I'm in and I can start asking questions. But it knows who I am. So again, I will only see the Confluence pages I have permissions to, and then the agent will go and generate data for me to answer. Is it that simple? Well, it is, but like anything else that you do, there's always going to be maybe some a little bit. I can see some pain smiles on the Sam faces, and I'm pretty sure Marcus would perhaps find that as well. Very quickly, some use cases. Obviously, it's going to be basically what is your imagination, but I'm not going to read through all of these, but if you have a sales team, yeah? Well, next slide. So if you're a sales and marketing, you will have data in SharePoint and OneDrive and so on. And you could say, look, okay, I want to get the summary on my target companies. Okay, we'll have information about our clients, or for the marketing and the sales for competitors and so on. And I can just ask it to come up with, either campaigns or so on. Software teams as well. So if you're a software development team, you could have your Git repository in there, and then same as you could see with Copilot and so on, you can ask it to come up with different clever things for you to help fix bugs. Or, there's a pull request, and then ask it to actually look at that pull request, look at the stub as it was before, and making sure that the pull request hasn't stripped anything out that was supposed to be there and so on. So for the marketing and sales, creating a personalized campaign and accessing sales data quickly. Now, if you were to do this manually, the old way, as we were doing it today, because this goes live tomorrow, then you would have to go into all those different panes, look for the space in Confluence for that client, and try to find the sales pitch that was used in the sales meeting last week or last month and so on. But instead, you can basically just go in here and say, right, I need to figure out what this client is about, taking into account the sales meeting we had last week and our top selling products to them in the past year. And it will get all this data for you. HR onboarding. Now this one is quite cool. If you have all you're a large organization, if you have all the company handbooks, employee handbook, security, safety, and all of that, if you're a new employee and you get access to this, you can ask it things like that without having to figure out who to ask in HR and so on. You can just say, okay, what is my, translate the employee handbook into Spanish. I haven't tried it, but what is the company policy on remote work, etc., and so on. And same thing about like with the IT, as I mentioned before, you can get an agent to work on your code that you are pulling in or creating tickets, update my Jira ticket, come up with a fancy way to close my ticket and add a poem written by Ernest Hemingway in 6 words or less, that kind of stuff. Now, all of this is built on Google Cloud Security by Design infrastructure. So it's all built into it from the scratch. So you would have the ability to integrate with whatever IT provider you have. And then it will enforce all the user level permissions from the source. And that is the agent and the connector's responsibility to make sure that that is in place. So all the data comes back from the source. And then I can see only the data that I'm supposed to see. Otherwise, this would never work, right? Like this is the basic core fundamental thing of what it has to support. And then there's all the things about data residency and the guarantee that none of this data is used to train Google's models. And this is the other point that has to be true and cannot be broken. And then lastly is kind of what the roadmap looks like. Now, again, I am not speaking on behalf of Google, but then having a continuously extending the library of connectors and then offering up a third-party marketplace and then deeper AI integrations. Of course, as Google comes up with more and better and more interesting tools in their AI landscape, those will be added into here. So now I'm going to try a little demo. So basically what we have is we have a dummy company called CoolSphere Commercial Solutions that sell air conditioning units, right? And they have 3 different products or product lines. One for large commercial buildings, one for sort of diverse and changing zoning needs, and one for smaller commercial spaces. And the data that we have set up for that is in these different, there's Salesforce, there's Google Drive, there's Confluence, there's Jira, and then there is Slack. So drum roll. Right. So firstly, if you're not familiar with the Google Cloud experience and so on, I am now here in a project, which is basically scopes by cost and permissions and so on, all my objects. So they are organized into projects. And I'm going to head over to the Agentspace that I have pinned there. And go to Agentspace here and just show you a little bit on the admin side. Now, so this is my project, and in this project I have some data stores defined. And this is basically a sandbox, so there's a lot of stuff in there. If I just expand my Slack, so these are my connectors. So they connect to my apps, and I have Slack, for example, set up here. And here I could find, like, if I needed to connect it to my Slack workspace, I put the auth code in there. And if I look at the data ingestion history, I can see that it's been running every hour to every 2 hours. And then what this does is it gets the new Slack message in and so on. So when you set it up for the first time, depending on how long history your Slack space has, it's going to go and get all your history in, and then incrementally, right? And what it does, it loads that into this data store, which for me is a black box, but it is a vector-enabled multi-tiered database distributed around the world. And here I set up also my connections to Google Drive, etc., and so on. So I'm going to jump right here into the apps. So here I have a whole list of apps named Temp and Test and Bob and so on. I'm not going to create an app for you, but I'm going to show you actually how easy it is. I want to create an Agentspace app, but there are some other custom search and other apps that have been there before. Sorry, click on that. I'll give it a name, company name, and then I can choose where do I want the data to reside. So if I do global, indeed it's going to be replicated data centers around the world. So that's all the data that we'll be ingesting in there. And now I can choose existing data stores, or I can create a new one. Now, from an admin point of view, you create the new one, create the data source separately. You manage the names and so on. But here I'm just going to go and say, okay, now I'm going to have my Slack. I want my conversations and the files and the messages, and I want my Jira. I'm going to take all the project and issues and working and so on. And then if I were to go and create now, hopefully I won't bankrupt my company. And okay, so this one went immediately active, and there's some issue with this Jira internal test one that I had there. Fine, okay. But that is basically once the application has been configured. So here I configure with the applications, what license tier do I want to use? I want to put a logo, and I think somewhere here I could choose the model, if I remember. Well, I'm not gonna bother with that. Right, so I'm gonna now switch over to a profile that is logged in. I had to restart Chrome before, so let me just get my questions. So I just have some questions I'm gonna copy paste into the agent. But I'm gonna access the agent now here directly. So this is just the URL for the application, which is just dedicated to the actual application. And now I am logged in here. I am the Agentspace demo user. It accesses the documents that I've been accessing recently just in my Google Workspace. And my calendar is here. And now I can start talking to my agent. So I'm just going to copy, paste some questions in there. Let's start with this one. So a client is asking how the AeroChill Pro compares to the Flexi Zone VRF for a 5-story office building. So they are considering two different offerings for that. And what are the key differences and which is generally better for energy efficiency? So first, it does look at there and say, okay, we're looking for AeroChill versus that, and some other things that is dotted out there. And I can see on the right-hand side that it has found a bunch of documents that it's working on. And from now on, this is just Gemini, right? Now it's basically just Gemini saying, I have all these documents, and I'm going to come up with key differences between those two products. Energy efficiency between the two. And then it asks me, okay, do I want to do some more search? And what I'm going to do actually now, I'm going to start a new conversation. I'm going to ask it the same thing, but I'm going to ask for a slightly typoed thing. And of course, it's always 10 times slower when you're demoing versus what you'd like it to be. It can access, so you can have a data source which is, so the question was, can it access BigQuery or SQL? Yes, so you can connect it to BigQuery, and then it's going to have to harvest that data in the same way as the other one. I'm going to ask it a follow-up question from the other one. I'm going to ask it this one again. Bear with me. So it kind of gives me this answer that we were seeing before. And there's a lot of details in my response. It is still going. Heat recovery. But of course, it's not making any of these things up as such. It's extracting it from all the data that I have about my own products. But since the customer was asking about it, so I assume the role of a cooling system expert to give me a deep technical breakdown of how to approach the needs of the client. So you can just ask it to change roles as you can ask normally with your chat agent. And now it's going to come with a deep technical assessment. And here I can see all the different documents that it's referring to. So you can see, I don't know if you're like me, if you ask ChatGPT or Gemini or something, and it comes back with this amazing 4-page answer, and you go like, oh, that's impressive. And then you walk away. You're getting the same thing here. But if I am the sales engineer and need to get this information out, then this is going to be a massive time saver there. So here I have another question. I'm just making sure I ask for a new conversation every time. I'm about to call Innovatech Park offices. What's our history with them? So they are presumably a client, and I'm about to call them. And if there have been meeting minutes and so on, it will going to go and take all that information and give me the boiled down what I need. So here's I found regarding our history with them. It's a new lead that exploring cooling solutions. They're a business park with multi-tenants, and there's a link to the document here. That's in Salesforce. Unfortunately, I don't have the login for the Salesforce when I ask for it. So here it goes like, oh, they're planning to implement a new quarter and have requested general products. Oh, there's a Slack conversation there. Just open that in the browser. And then it jumps to Slack, and I can see here is that thing that somebody was telling me about or talking about that particular product. And I can ask them follow up on that. You get the idea. But I guess what I'm trying to show you.
Something in the document you don't have access to.
I don't know the demo data well enough that I could replicate that. So the question was, can I show you to reference something in a document that I don't have access to? This demo environment, I don't know it well enough to be able to come up with something like that. So I did ask it for having a case study document of Flexi installations, and then I will have all of that. Here's a link to the actual ones, and here's a link to the case study, getting this data from there, and so on.
Is what you were saying that based on your privileges that you have, that there might be information that's useful for this person, but because of your level of privileges, you wouldn't see that returned or referenced?
Yes, I think our speaker was saying that there was a document that it kindly gave us the link to in Salesforce, which you didn't have access to, which therefore means if the privilege levels were working correctly, you shouldn't have even seen the reference to the document.
Let me clarify what I was saying is that on my Mac here, if I click on that link, it's going to open up Salesforce and ask me to log into it. I don't have the username and the password in my LastPass to show you that. That's just a lack of me not having the username and password that I need for that user.
But kind of your user context within the search world, within agent searches, has got access, so therefore you do.
Yeah, so before I set this up, when I clicked on the Slack link, it asked me to log in using Google, which I did. And the same thing for Jira.
Got a lot of other questions around that. I'll save for the questions, though.
Okay, so I'm just going to jump to the last one here, or second to last. So let's now go and say, we just closed the deal with Grand City Mall for 10 units. What are the standard installation lead times, and who is our primary technical contact for post-sale questions from the client's facility manager? Right, so now it's going to go into Jira, because we use Jira to assign work to everybody. And it's going to go into there and tell me that Standard installation lead time is typically 4 to 6 weeks after order confirmation, and it gets that from the FAQ, and it gets that from Google Drive. Our primary technical contact is David Chen. Okay, so I think this is where the demo is going to maybe stutter a little bit. So create a Jira ticket to have one of our technical resources confirm the lead time. So now it comes because the connector there is not only about harvesting data from Jira, it also allows me to open up a ticket with Jira that I can, I can change the data and so on, but I'm just going to go and say, okay, create the ticket, invalid argument issue type, okay. Well, this worked just fine today. Okay, issue created, and then I can click on that issue. It logs me into Jira. This ticket was created with the information I was expecting. And now I say, okay, that's great. We'll need to act on that. Draft an email to let the facility manager know. And I think this one says it doesn't know the email address of the facility manager. But what it should do, and maybe it does it this time, it says David Chen is the technical contact. It should go into my contacts. And it didn't find the email address, so I'm just going to put it to myself. And send. And then the email gets sent, and it's going to show up in my Agentspace demo. Here's the email. I just proved to you that I can send email. Okay, I'm going to put one more. Tell me about tachyon particles. Anybody know what tachyon particles are? Some people laugh, others need an explanation. Hopefully we will get the explanation. So these are hypothetical particles that are theorized to always travel faster than the speed of light. So this is basically how Star Trek does warp traveling using that. There's also a speculative concept of tachyon Kubernetes clusters. And that it got from a Slack conversation. That somebody's talking about a new product called TKCs. And you're calling me a nerd?
You asked the question, what secrets about Borkur?
Well, you can ask who is Borkur. Well, Mark was asking, can we ask it something embarrassing about me that comes from my Slack conversation, probably posted after midnight on a Saturday. Well, there we go. Yes, so this was a guy called Mark asking me on the demo Slack if I had managed to log in. If I were to switch to our other one, you would get usual stuff. So we are actually using, at Pythian, have been using it internally on top of all of our Jiras and Confluence, and specifically the Google Docs. Pythian has been a kind of a Google shop for a long, long time, so they have all of their stuff in the Google space. So when I log in there, I showed this to somebody today who started asking questions about something, and like, boff, just immediately within seconds came back with not just the information that was there, but collate it together and put concise, and then you can ask it, and you can continue chatting to it like a bot, obviously, and ask it to, as we said, create an email, but make it concise or and so on. So I think so. I guess the conclusion just on that is that Google is providing a knowledge base where all of your corporate data with hundreds of different connectors, so different applications, can be brought together out of all those silos. So they can be indexed and searched, and then throwing Gemini on top of all of that to have boosting the productivity. And just like many of us, when ChatGPT and all those came out first, we just started using it and haha and so on. But if you start using it more and more, you can use it really to accelerate. I know Nigel, you would at least agree with me on that. Like once you start using those really daily and as a part of your work process, that boosts your productivity a lot, just like Google did before, just like many other tools have done in the past. So with that, I'll wrap up. If you have any questions, then Sam is more than happy to. But just to say that our scary Sam did a good talk. Appreciate that. I learned. So if you have any questions or any questions online, one.
Let me give you one of these. Yeah, sure. That one, 1, 2, there you go. Yes, so Mark from Measure Lab, another Google partner, he's wondering if the release tomorrow will be 100% ready for production. He does have a follow-up.
Not a clue.
Not a clue. Okay, cool. And then what real working examples have you been able to experiment it with in Agentspace, like beyond the use cases here, if there are any more?
Well, what I mentioned earlier, that we are actually using it in-house. So we are using it actively for marketing and sales people to get an insight into all the data sets that we have. And then sort of the senior management and product managers using it to really dive into all the data that we have. So if you've been around for such a long time, you have so much data about your clients over time or older clients and so on, that it's impossible to search and get sort of meaningful information from it. So being able to use something like this, so that's kind of the only actual real life ones that I've been having anything to do with. But once it goes GA tomorrow, I would expect all the partners and so on starting to push it quite heavily. Already have it primed in their pipeline for sure.
So I'm not going to follow up on the security thing because that can go on for ages. But we were talking before the start of the talk actually about so your demo where you were sort of install time for your air conditioner, and you know the official thing from the engineering department says it takes 4 days, let's say. But of course on Confluence, I've written my install guide that I share with my team, and that person's written theirs, and yeah, we've now got varying pieces of information about install times, and you know, obviously it depends on facility managers and lots of other things. So I guess this is a more general how the vectorization of that all works for. There's the one document with the official answer of it takes 4 days, that is the company line.
Yeah.
But because every engineer that actually installs it, it takes them 3 months,
Yeah.
then you know the response says it takes 3 months.
Yeah, so I was just going a bit too fast because the next thing I did, I created a ticket to get somebody to confirm the time, because I know what you know is that that answer might not be reliable. It's the official one from the PDF that was printed 5 years ago. But no, indeed, that's why I created a Jira ticket to ask somebody to confirm that.
But surely as a salesperson, you should be spewing out the company official line at that moment, not what the engineers actually think it will take.
Wasn't this at the end of a closed deal? This was the one at the end of a closed deal. The sale had been done, and now I wanted to confirm the lead time for delivery reality. And so on. Yeah. Any more questions?
I was thinking whether, well, first of all, very nice talk. I was wondering whether there might be some need to educate the users in terms of privacy. The typical example is what users already do today by oversharing on OneDrive, stuff that they shouldn't be sharing.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking what can happen
Yeah,
without
so
training.
you can configure the application to, for example, to put ban words, and you can also just use the built-in, whatever it's called at Google, to ensure that no PII is going to be sent out. But of course, you would always have to educate your users if you're telling them to use this bot, whatever it is. Or Oscar lies 5 out of 7. Don't ask him about that stuff. But he knows everything about the other stuff. Just like when you're talking with human beings, who knows you best? But yeah, you'd have to educate. But Google is very careful about those kind of things. And then so it puts things in the background of, I didn't look at all the settings. But yeah, you can put things like ban words and making sure that it doesn't share any personal information. At the end of the day, if you're a salesperson and you just type something into ChatGPT and you paste it into an email and sent it, well, you sent it, you didn't read it, you're making up a whole bunch of stuff. So you still have to be careful with anything that you use there.
Thank you.
With the pricing that you put up there, is that all inclusive? Are there additional costs for like storage? Because you mentioned it has to ingest all of the data.
It was on the slide, which I just got from Google. You get 50 gigs per user included in that, in indexing and so on. But yeah, you would always have to read the fine print.
Sure.
Right.
Second question, sorry if that's okay. Hallucinations, given that you're connecting it to what you're telling it, oh, this is gospel data, firstly, is it still subject to hallucinations, or is it kind of more trustworthy?
I would imagine that it has to solve the same kind of problems as everybody else. And this is also why if you're using AI or Gen AI as a tool for your work, be it a contract or a legal document or anything, you are responsible for what you're sending out. And if you believe what it says, then yeah, especially like let's say it takes Slack. And let's say I wrote this whole rant about how indexes in Oracle databases are upside down. They should be left to right or something like that. And the whole conversation on the Slack channel goes on about that. And then somebody goes in and writes something and compare index strategies between these databases and comes up with something like that. You kind of have to know what you're doing. That's it?
Sorry, I think that just goes back to my previous point about we don't seem to have in our vector databases that level of quality metric on pieces of input data. You know, something written in Slack or in a Teams chat channel is of much lower quality than something written in an official release PDF engineering document, for example. So yes, the ranty Slack chat is useful input. And I guess also in that, again, when you're prompting AI, I'm prompting this so I can send a follow-up communication to a customer, or please tell me how the engineering team find installing these units, should hopefully then get you different responses from whatever language model you're using to interrogate your vector database.
Yeah, you would expect you'd be able to put weight or seriousness. I can't find it quickly in the GUI here. I can also, when I'm talking to the app, I can turn off sources. So let's say we're always using Slack there, but I'm always being tripped up by it. I'm just using Slack as an example, but you're absolutely right. It might not be a great idea, but you don't also, I think you can also just select the channels that you want it to. So it's not going to take Friday Night Fun and Pizza Night into it.
Yeah, and I think that's sort of the point, isn't it? That Slack's low quality data from that point of view, I would say.
All right.
Any more questions?
Thank you very much.
Yeah, let's go. All right then. Actually, I'm curious about the the financial results of the Google for this quarter. But if you see any spike on the sales, probably, yeah, they owe those spikes to these amazing two talks, especially demo followed by for the Agentspace. So let's give another round of applause for our amazing two talks. Unfortunately, that's the end of our talk sessions, but it is not end of our conversations. So we're gonna keep up with the pub after this one. We need to, leave from this venue because the people are working here needs to go home and they need to feed their, beloved ones. Cats especially. So, or dogs, I'm not sure. So, but I would like to thank you once again, Andy, since they provide the venue for us as a Barclays Eagle Labs, and also Cameron for arranging everything from the technical side and maintaining them. Without further ado, and also I would like to thank you as an audience and remote audience as well. So without you, we couldn't make this forum that lively and also interactive place. So I'm asking another round of applause for everybody in this room. I think that's everything for tonight. So we're gonna keep up the conversation for our usual support for the last couple of events. So it's called Onboard Pub. If you don't know where it is, just try to stick the crowd or follow the flow, so you're gonna find out. So have a lovely, cheers, bye-bye night.